You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Monday. It's Victory Monday. It's late because I cannot manage my time half the time. But we made it. We're here. We're doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. I'd like to again thank anyone that read over the weekend, continuing to just have some of the best weekends I've ever had, blowing my expectations out of the water, and also loving the fact that you guys are starting to watch on YouTube here, because yes, this podcast is now both on YouTube as well as wherever else you get your podcast. You can literally get it wherever you get your podcast. So we are obviously going to talk a bit about that game that happened on Saturday, why I feel good about just sitting there and looking at what's happening and saying, okay, I feel good about going into Big Ten season right now. Obviously, last week we had Anthony Treishon, and he said from Pro Football Focus, and he said, hey, I think Michigan's going to beat Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin was off this weekend, so we didn't get to see them. Get to see what Wisconsin looks like against Notre Dame. If it can get some confidence, it might be a different situation, or it could wreck the confidence of Wisconsin. I digress. There's a lot to figure out when it comes to what's going to happen this season for Michigan. Obviously ranks number 19 coming out of the weekend, 63-10 win against Northern Illinois. You all know that at this point. But all right, let's talk about the game, and then we'll move on to my overarching thoughts, because I think that's important to actually, talk about the thing that happened. So obviously everyone wanted to see a bit more of a passing game. That's what happened. But not much. It was the same as Western Michigan pretty much, right? Cade McNamara 8 for 11 instead of 9 for 11, but had more yards at 194, I believe is the number, and 1 touchdown. Then you had same thing for J.J. McCarthy, except for didn't have the long touchdown, 4 for 6, the same exact amount of attempts and completions. So a bit better than what you saw in Washington, but Michigan still not needing to do much more. Like Jim Harbaugh said coming out of the game, yeah, we really wanted to pass more in this game. But I mean, if they can't stop the run, you can't help it, right? Like you can't do anything. Michigan with, was it 374 yards rushing? Like it's just getting silly at this point, but it proves now, like, teams are wanting to stop the run, right? Like, it's one thing when it's like you do it in week 1 and it's like, oh, Michigan can run the ball. Interesting. Yes, curious. Week 2, Washington's like, yeah, we're going to stop the run. I mean, they said it going into the game. Jackson Sermon is like, we are stopping the run. We are doing it. There is nothing they are going to be able to do. We are stopping the run. And then Michigan runs for 56 times for 343 yards. So you know that Northern Illinois was like, yeah, we want to stop the run. We can't let them run for 300 and something yards. And Michigan's like, aha, nope, we're doing it. It's what we do. It's what we want to do. Made possible by stellar offensive line performances. You can see, I like the singled out play that I saw people singling out on Twitter. Keep in mind, I'm on the sidelines again, so I don't get to see these things. And that play I actually didn't see really, because I was coming out of the tunnel. I was late. But getting to see like the blocks made to spring Corum for that long run and like the second play or first play or whatever it was in the second half. I was late getting back out on the field. I saw the play, but not really. Like, I'm literally walking down the tunnel. They snap the ball as soon as they get into the opening and just see Corum take off. But Ryan Hayes and Lou Schoonmaker with really big blocks downfield. It's huge. It's everything you want. Really, really good stuff. So excited to see that type of play. So the offense just continues to be the offense. Will it get tougher? Yeah, it certainly will. Teams are going to figure out some ways to slow things down to some degree. I feel like there's a lot more in the passing game. And if teams start saying we are really going to stop the run, like you are not going to run on us, don't be surprised if you see Michigan pass all over you, because certainly they can pass the ball. It's just they're not trying to, right? There's a difference between being incapable of and not trying to. Michigan's just not trying to. And until someone can prove it can stop the run, we probably won't see it really change. What was interesting coming out of the Ohio State-Tulsa game is that Ohio State stopped the run for once, but Tulsa passed for 400-something yards. So their defense is just bad. Just bad. So, again, I digress. I got to catch a bit of that game once I got home from the other one. So, anyway, Michigan's doing everything right. And there's a lot of people out there that are like, who did they beat? And, of course, like, Michigan State fans are right now, they're like, who did Michigan beat? Like, Washington and Miami might be, like, two sides of the same coin at this point, you know? Western beat Pitt. Michigan beat Western. Northwestern just got beat by Duke in a game that wasn't even as close as the score indicated. So it's a coin flip at this point between those two teams. They're also running the ball really good. Their defense isn't as good, it doesn't look like, but we'll see. Lots of season left. I had a point by bringing up Michigan State. I think it was something about sustainability in Big Ten. We'll see, right? Michigan's doing everything that you want it to do, right? It's the line play on both sides has been just absolutely phenomenal, and you really like what the defense did too. It didn't stop the run as much as it did in previous weeks, but said you're not passing. So, really good stuff. All right, let's continue talking about this game. I'm going to keep this shorter than usual, probably because X's and O's is in process at the moment, Jake Butt. We talked for 30 minutes. So lots of talk, if you want it, about Michigan, about this game, about what I'm seeing, what Jake Butt's seeing. That's all out there for you. So before we move on, I do want to tell you a little something about Prize Picks. College football fanatics. Have you heard about it? Prize Picks is a daily fantasy made easy. I love this. I know you will too. Prize Picks is a leader in college sports daily fantasy. It offers more college football props than anyone in the world and offers all of the star players of the Power 5 as well as the mid-major players you might not have even heard of. Prize Picks offers any props that you can think of, from yardage to touchdowns, even interceptions thrown. Make a deposit, use the promo code LOCKEDON, receive an 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Really good stuff there. Pick 2 to 5 players, an over-under on their projections. You can win up to 10 times on any entry. It is just you versus the projected numbers. Guess what? Prize Picks also allows mixed sport entries. That means you can take the over on LeBron combined with the under on Patrick Mahomes in the same entry. Use the award-winning app on both. You can get them both the Apple App Store or Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is that easy. Prize Picks is safe. It offers fast withdrawals. Don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com. Go to your app store. Download the app today. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. All right. Let's keep going. Keep doing our thing. For those who are watching, my microphone's right in front of the screen. You saw me. What you missed was, because it's not going to be included in the video, was me tripping while I tried to sit down when the initial podcast. Maybe I'll post it as an outtake at some point. I'm sure I look awesome. All right. Anyhow. Yeah, really 63-10. It can't get any better. Michigan has been really good. A lot of these yardage that is coming from other teams, they gave up some rushing yards this time. It comes on the in garbage time. In this case, Michigan had, Jim Harbaugh said 106 players play in the game. I've seen some different veracity, but I mean, you had a lot of walk-ons. That this might be their only game this year actually able to get in on the game. So, I mean, Michigan gave up a field goal early and then a touchdown late. It kind of seems like, for the most part, Mike McDonald has been really, really good at adjusting. Really, really good at it. Because it seems like you're going to get the best shot when teams have something scripted to try to take advantage of what they've seen on film. And then Mike McDonald says, I see what you're doing. No, you're done. And then if you want to have another go at it, it's when Michigan's like, all right, starters, you can get some rest. At least that's what we've seen through 3 games. So, I mean, will that hold? Maybe, maybe not. Things will get a little bit tougher starting this week. Rutgers certainly looks like the improved team I've been saying it looks like so far. On paper, when you look at where it ranks across the board, I mean, it looks like a carbon copy of Michigan in a lot of ways. Not every way, of course, but in a lot of ways. You can check out that by the numbers piece that I put together on Wolverines Wire. But there's a lot to, when you look at how this matchup could go, things should get tougher. I'm probably not predicting a 300-yard rushing game. We'll see when we get closer to, but I mean, I think that there's a good chance that it won't be. And they'll have to rely a little bit more on the pass. Rutgers has got a really good run defense so far. Really good pass defense as usual. But who is it played to? That's the same thing, right? You figure if Michigan can do what it did to Washington, I know there's people out there saying, hey, Washington's going to be bad. Maybe they won't make a bowl game. Well, they'll probably make a bowl game. They're in the Pac-12, right? The Pac-12 is just down as a conference, right? Fresno State just beat UCLA, a UCLA team that people were like, they might contend because they beat LSU. Here's the thing. Sometimes you have to look at teams for what they are, and sometimes they're just not good. LSU, I don't know why they were getting so hyped. They were terrible last year, and suddenly people are like, they might have been terrible last year, but wait for this year because they are back. You know, Texas back. USC back. USC might suddenly be back now that they fired Clay Helton, but I digress. So there's, I digress should be the name of this show, by the way. I get especially tangenty when I left to my own devices. I think that what's going to be interesting to see is how much Michigan's been able to keep up what it's doing. I think defensively it should probably look the part. I have not been impressed at all with what I've seen from Rutgers offensively. Yet it's defensively that it continues to be a problem. Offensively, it gets the job done, but defensively, they get turnovers like that's their job, right? Very opportunistic. And when you consider that Cade McNamara has yet to turn the ball over in his Michigan career, you hope that trend continues in a game like this. And Michigan is starting to have that we smell blood in the water type feel, right? This is starting to be a team that's just, you can sense the confidence. You see them having fun. When we came up like last year, Michigan never looked like it was having fun. Not even in the Minnesota game. It didn't look like it was like at the end of the game, it just was like they're there, right? It didn't look like they were having a blast. Now it's like this looks like, Miami turnover chain, type thing. And I don't mean that in the sense of what Miami is right now as a program, but that you can sense that this is a team that's enjoying itself, that is confident, that knows that it's capable of doing what it's doing. And what's more, they don't want to be the butt of people's jokes anymore, right? Like Morris said today, like, hey, we know that we know what would happen if we lose, then everyone's going to say Michigan sucks. They're just waiting for it, like the inevitable. So they, for once, this Michigan team has a chip on its shoulder. The only time in recent history that I remember a Michigan team having that same kind of chip on its shoulder was the 2016 team. I don't feel like the 2018 team was the same in that sense. I think the 2018 team was just better than most teams, and the offensive line was really good suddenly, and they could just run all over people, and it just they got confidence as they went on, and it really felt like especially by the time they got to that Penn State game at the end of that gauntlet, it was just like both teams were, Michigan's like, well, we're going to kill you, and Penn State's like, we're going to get killed, so be it. I feel like this team, I guess, is more akin to 2016 than 2018, even though it's using some similar game plan type ideas from 2018. Ball control, running the ball, passing when it needs to, not going nuts with it. I feel like they're passing less than even Shea Patterson did in the early going. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think this team is doing some really good stuff. And considering that we've seen the same thing in 3 games, I think we can effectively say this is what Michigan is. And you know what? That's what the advanced analytics say. Now, you look at there's different kinds of advanced analytics. Pro Football Focus, and we'll talk to Seth Galina tomorrow from Pro Football Focus. That's going to be more of a, like a retrospect, type thing. Like what happened? Like we're grading you on what you did. And Michigan's up near the top. Then you have more predictive, like Bill Connolly, SP Plus at ESPN. That's more of like, this is predictive. And as he said, you take out the preseason rankings, which factor heavily early on in the SP Plus. Michigan's the number one team in the country because they're just bludgeoning everybody. And I mean, that's what Auburn was doing. I'm sure Auburn would have been right up there. And I can't speak to the veracity of it. I don't even remember who was on that list other than Michigan, maybe Ole Miss. It's so far Michigan has had 3 tests and it's passed all 3, right? And you can only, and that's I think part of the thing about, like I was mentioning about MSU. MSU fans are like, who have you played, Michigan? We've played 2 ranked teams, and Northwestern is the worst team in the Big Ten. That doesn't count. Miami is now 1-2. I think, listen, I love the Canes. That's been my adopted team. Not that I get to watch them very much. I don't think it's a very good team right now. I think they've been very overhyped. Do I think Washington and Miami are both going to make bowl games? I think probably. But Miami, I think, is broken right now. I got to look and see who they play next. But you hope that their next game is in Clemson, right? Or like North Carolina. I think North Carolina is overhyped, but you hope that they aren't Wake Forest right now, and playing really good with a couple of former Michigan players. I think it's hard to say what it is that these teams, by a transitive property, how good or not good they are. But you play the games on your schedule, and you win or you lose them. Michigan has destroyed all 3 teams it's played. Scoring defense is among the top in the country. Rushing offense is the top in the country. We know what Michigan is through a quarter of the season as far as this is what it has been through 3 games. If it continues through Rutgers, if Michigan rushes for 300 yards against Rutgers again, then you're like, this is just what it's going to do every game. So good luck. Now, will it do it against Wisconsin? No. I will go on the record and say, I do not think that against Wisconsin, Michigan is going to rush for 300 yards, but they're willing to prove me wrong, I'm sure. No punts in this game against NIU. I felt like that was, they went for it on 4th down, even on some 4th and medium-ishes, 1 4th and long. I felt like at that point they were just doing it because it was like, stop us, and we also don't want to punt, so we can say we didn't punt all game. Just how I felt about it. Anyway, all right, final thoughts here in a moment. Let's talk a little bit about the Big Ten, because I do my weekly power rankings now. Let's just talk about a little bit about the top. I do want to mention, well, let's get to it when we get to it. I really want to jump the gun right now. But before we do, hey guys, there are a few things in life that just aren't fun to talk about. One of them is excessive sweating. When you're sweating through your shirts for no reason, it is embarrassing, right? Some of you may know I have personally dealt with this. When I speak in public, I can't help but sweat through my shirt. Now listen, I know this isn't life and death, and there are much worse problems in the world, but let's be honest, in the moment, it feels like a big deal. Nobody likes to put out during an important speech, interview, or first date, God forbid. I'd much rather not worry about it. That's why I use SweatBlock antiperspirant wipes. SweatBlock is stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. You simply apply it at night before bedtime, go to bed. The next morning you wake up, wash, and go about your day without worrying about sweat. Guaranteed. I know this will sound too good to be true, but I only literally have to use SweatBlock once or twice a week, and it keeps me dry the whole time. No more pitting out. No more picking my shirts based on which one will hide sweat better. If you or someone you love is dealing with this, you have to check out SweatBlock. Get it today for 20% off at sweatblock.com with promo code LOCKEDON, or you can get it at Amazon or CVS. All right, now I'm going to tell you something about something you know I love. I do. And I have one right here to show you if you're watching on video. That is, let's see if it focuses. There we go. It's a Built Bar. That's right. I wonder if that's backwards. Looks backwards, but this is a cookie dough chunk, and they sent me a little sampler pack of these, and you know what I did if you've listened to the show at any point in time. I ate 2 in a row. Granted, I knew I was going to, because I'm like, cookie dough chunk sounds delicious. Guess what? It is delicious. So this is among my new favorites. If you don't know what Built Bar is, it's a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, but it's low calorie, low sugar, high protein, low carb, and all of that. I like how I mixed that up. This is, let's see, I'm going to tell you right here, 150 calories with 18 grams of carbohydrates and 15 grams of protein. So I can eat 2 of these and still, I mean, it's literally the only thing I've eaten today are 2 Built Bars. And it's like 6:30 p.m. And I've been going since 9 a.m. So I'm telling you, the sustenance. And I can eat 2 of them, and it's a good meal replacement. So it's awesome. So go to built.com, put in promo code LOCK15. Take my word for it because I vouch for this more than anything else. No offense to anything else. I vouch for the Built Bars. Anyone else who is taking me up on this challenge, you know how right I am because I know several of you are hooked on Built Bar as well. So built.com, promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off of your next order. All right, yeah, I talked about Built Bar for a little bit because it's so good. All right, let's talk about the Big Ten. I did these power rankings, and like I talked a little bit about Michigan State. Where I stand with it is right now the 2 teams look close to identical. You know, really power rush game, really good offenses. There's a couple of things about Michigan State that have for me, it's like, if they're, because I have Michigan ranked 3rd, Michigan State ranked 4th in my power rankings. It's like 3A, 3B, really, in my eyes. But Michigan State's pass defense has been a little suspect. They've looked really certainly good in the front 7. And I'm still not completely sold on the offensive line completely. I think Kenneth Walker's done a really good job. I'm not sure that that's 100% the offensive line as much as it's him, so I'm curious about that. That said, I do think that they're pretty close to even. They might have had a better test than Michigan has, but I don't know. Washington lost to a team it shouldn't have lost to in Montana. Miami is also 1-2. It beat App State barely and got blown out by Alabama. So I don't know. But right now I have Penn State in the top of the conference. I'm buying in on Auburn, and I think that they did a great job playing Auburn. So I am buying them. I moved Iowa down to number 2 because I think that the Hawkeyes, I wanted to see more against Kent State, right? If you're going to be the best team in the Big Ten, you can't beat Kent State. What was it, like 30-6 or something like that? You got to do a little bit more offensively. I don't think you're going to win a slobber knocker against whoever ends up being the best team on the other side of the ball. I just don't think so. There are too many good offenses in the Big Ten right now. You're not going to be able to, as bad as Ohio State, I think, might be, you can't beat Ohio State 30-6. You can't. You can't just score 30 points and expect to beat Ohio State. That said, I had Ohio State below Michigan and Michigan State. I had them still, I think, above Wisconsin. I don't remember. They don't look good at all right now. Yeah, I do have them again ahead of Wisconsin. They do not look good at all. TreVeyon Henderson looked great. Take TreVeyon Henderson out of that game, Ohio State loses. Right. You take a true freshman player out against Tulsa, Ohio State would have lost, in my opinion. It was bad. It's just maybe it's almost letting the same team beat you twice in Oregon. I don't know. It wasn't good. They play the nobody again this week. I don't remember who. So I would imagine it will suddenly at some point look really good, but I mean, they give up 400 yards passing. They stopped the run, but they give up 400 something yards passing to the Golden Hurricane. It's not good. It's going down there. I know. Crying tears of joy here. Wisconsin I have after because I'm not seeing anything from them offensively. Wisconsin can rise the quickest, right? You beat Notre Dame, you beat Michigan, you might be the best team in the conference. Because then you can sit there and look at that Penn State game and say, well, Wisconsin should have won that game. Maryland disappoints me what it did against Illinois, but it still won, but it had to win in walk-off fashion. Not ideal. Minnesota looked really impressive, winning on the road in Boulder 30-0 against a team that really had Texas A&M on the ropes. And then there's the rest. Who cares? Well, no, Rutgers, who 3-0. But we'll talk plenty about Rutgers this week. So that's my thoughts on the Big Ten as it stands. So anyway, that'll do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow with Seth Galina from Pro Football Focus to break down what Michigan is looking like. And yeah, that'll do it. So we'll talk to you Tuesday. Thanks for listening and watching. See you then. Tuesday. Peace.